Hi friends, it's Ash and Kaylee. This week I'm sharing with you some of my old art spanning from some of high school through college. I hope you enjoy. So here it is, guys, the video that nobody asked for, but I decided to make for you anyways. I'm going to go through some art kind of quickly. The first few things are from high school. I did a lot of fan art at this time, both by request and of my own volition. So I don't have a lot left. I did give away a lot. I started making my first sales at this time, selling them for peanuts or snacks or whatever it was. I don't really remember all of the transactions, but this is what I still actually have around, and it is a ton of fan art. This is Tool inspired. I think that's kind of obvious, and very much comic book inspired. I loved Alice in Wonderland. I still do, so that's a recurring theme as well. And Spawn was one of my favorite comic book characters at the time, and I also loved the character Clown from that. This was my first actual watercolor piece that I went all the way through from start to finish. And here are 2 pages from a comic book with a story that I was writing. Obviously I didn't get very far. I think I had it all written out and just didn't illustrate it any further. I don't have the writing, so I don't remember what it was supposed to be about. And this was my first attempt at color pencils on black paper, and now we're getting to college era. And this one is a watercolor piece. This is a print of a watercolor piece I did for the music department for one of their Halloween concerts. I actually really liked that illustration. It looks a lot like a children's book illustration. And now we're going to move on to a old sketchbook. And again, this is college years. When I started college, I was actually an English major. Art's always been a huge part of my life, so I still always did it. I think at this point, though, I had already changed my major over to art. I had a lot of friends who were music majors, and it inspired me to follow my passion. I got to check out the actual school of art, and I fell in love with it and decided to change my own major. This sketchbook, I think, illustrates very easily my problems. I had big issues with anatomy, consistency, and at the time I didn't really know of the trick to look at things in the mirror or take a picture and flip it. Technology was not to where it is today. Of course, there's cell phones and everything, but the pictures did not look as good. We didn't have all the editing software on all these digital devices, and I did most of my work traditionally at this point. So you'll see a lot of random notes in here as well from various classes. I took a metalsmithing class as well. You'll also notice that I waste a ton of paper. A lot of the ideas in my sketchbook are just ideas, kind of brain vomit, and a lot of things not really developed. I had a project for an illustration, so you can see some characters that look a little bit like me. And this is the one I actually went with, based loosely off of this photo. It was a giant piece of paper with a charcoal drawing. I had it up into a few years ago, but I have since lost it since we moved into the house we're currently in. This was a recital poster, I believe, for a friend. I did a lot of those. I didn't actually keep most of them. They got reproduced and printed and hung in the music building. None of them were ever that good, though. I am a little bit embarrassed by a lot of this stuff. I don't think it's all terrible, but the way I work in sketchbooks is very, very messy, and it's not really for show and tell. So I have procrastinated making this video for a long time. I see people have these beautiful sketchbooks with fully rendered pieces in them, and that's just not how I use sketchbooks. I don't at all regret it though, and I don't think that will ever change, but I thought I would share with you my process anyways, and hopefully speak to anyone who's kind of embarrassed about how they work in a sketchbook. Really, it's for you. It's for you to work out your ideas and thoughts, and you don't have to show anybody. I'm choosing to show it today just to show my growth. I have made leaps and strides since a lot of this was made. And as you can see, in college, I wasn't really copying characters so much anymore. I was developing a lot of original characters or taking stories and doing spins on them. I had a lot of fun with it, and I wish that some of these things were better developed though. I could have done a lot more with it. There's also a lot of really random notes like this I sold on Etsy, and I would come up with product ideas and logo ideas. So there's just a lot of really random things in here. I've always been inspired by Japanese culture, so you may have seen some actual Japanese writing too. I took a couple semesters of Japanese language in college as well. And college was the first time I ever tried charcoal, so there's a few of those in here. I'll admit I was really, really terrible at it. I'm probably still terrible at charcoal because I don't do it. I would like to think that I would be better at it, but I won't know until I actually try it. So I am tempted to start a sketchbook and actually stick to it. These days I don't really work in sketchbooks too much. College days, so of course I was a little political and spiritual development. So that, yes, that was the Queen and George Bush. That might be before your time though if you're a young artist. So anyways, I just have a lot of really random things, a lot of half-cocked ideas here. And that's okay. That some of these things got developed and were turned into full, bigger pieces. A couple of them made it into paintings. I did have a lot of sketchbooks at the time. I've never been one to just fill a sketchbook and then move on to the next. I've usually had more than one, and time overlaps, and I'll work in one and then the next week I'll work in another. So there's no real flow to it chronologically. I think at this time a little bit more in order than others, just because I was in school at the same time and we were required to have sketchbooks and do sketchbook reviews. I don't know what happened to some of those sketchbooks. I don't think I have them at all anymore. And I'm only going to go through and up into the college level on this video. I experimented with a lot of different illustration styles and was really just trying to find my voice and my style. I still think that sometimes that is very unclear, although looking back at this I can see some of the similarities of what's still the same and what has changed. This is another sketchbook that was required for my first painting class. I took one oil painting class in college, and this one was specifically for that class. There's a lot of thumbnails of paintings ideas. Like this one actually got made, and I actually have that painting still. It's not because I liked it or anything. My mom liked it, and when she passed a few years ago, it came back into my possession. This one also turned into a painting that I was very proud of at the time. My older brother has that one now. I really, really love oil painting. I think if I had to choose one type of paint, it would probably be oil, although I spent the last several years not doing it at all, just because I thought mistakenly that it was less eco-friendly and more harmful to the painter themselves. But I have changed my opinions on that, and I have been incorporating it into my practice a lot more again. So there's a few drawings in here, like this one, that were not by me, or that scribble page was by a cousin of mine, and I'll point those out when they're not mine. The drunk chicken was not mine, the scribbles was not mine. Everything else is for a while. This is a ballpoint sketch. I really think that's a great practice when you just go in with pen and don't allow yourself any erasing. This one is not mine. It's by one of my friends, Victoria. Super cute. And this was painting ideas. The third one here actually became a painting, a little bit of an abstraction. This is a sketch of my now husband, of my younger brother. This one my mother did. Sometimes, and she did that one as well. Sometimes she would just sketch in one of my sketchbooks if I left it lying around. Again, back to my half-cocked ideas. Sometimes I can't even decipher what these ideas are at this point. And sometimes I would just doodle. I think it's a good practice. I love just going free in a sketchbook. That is not one of mine either. I'm not going to show it because it might be a little bit offensive. And you can see I use my sketchbooks as total brain dump. Lots of notes, random thoughts, really rough sketches. I hope you enjoyed that. I just really wanted to drive home the idea that a sketchbook should be your safe haven. You don't need to share it. You can be messy and free with it. It's a lot of fun. You can learn a lot about yourself and grow as an artist. And it can be very therapeutic. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you're having a great week. Take care.